I'm Dr. Jan Tristant. I'm a lecturer at Macquarie University. I'm an archaeologist, and my specialty is Egyptian archaeology. And I'm also the new program director for the archaeology program at Macquarie. It's a pleasure to welcome you today in this theater, especially in this one because this is usually the theater where we teach Egyptian archaeology. I'm going to talk about archaeology, and I want to give you a test of what is archaeology. What is archaeology, why we are doing archaeology, and what are the opportunities to do archaeological fieldwork. Not only in Australia, but I want to give you examples overseas. And this is my pleasure today to have three of our best students here in this theater, and they will share with you their passion for archaeology. First, archaeology. What is archaeology? Archaeology is the study of the past. But more than that, archaeology is a real passion for the past. This definition here on the screen is very good, but it's too long, maybe, in my opinion. I prefer this one. Archaeology is exciting. Archaeology is a way to look to the past, a way to question the past, and to understand why the past is so important for us today or for our future. Archaeology, for most of you, is probably that, okay? Indiana Jones. But I would say that archaeology, it's more something like that. Yeah, it's a little bit different. Archaeology is also destruction, because when you excavate a site, you destroy the site at the same time. There are remains below the ground waiting for you for more than 5,000 years, or from more than 5,000 years. And when you excavate with your trowel or with different tools, you destroy these remains. And this is why when you are doing archaeology, you have to do it very well. Archaeology is not an hobby. For some people, archaeology is just a hobby. You can go to the beach or you can go somewhere in the outback and you can excavate. No, first it's forbidden, and it doesn't work like that. Archaeology is a real job, and you need a skill for archaeology. So what we teach here at Macquarie is how to use the best tools for archaeology. What are the disciplines in archaeology, the different areas, the different periods, and also the different techniques of archaeology. So of course our main tool is the trowel, the best friend of an archaeologist while in the field. But not only. If you come to Macquarie and if you want to learn archaeology, my colleagues, will teach you what are the best tools you can use for archaeology and what are the different techniques and how to use these tools, these techniques on the field. Mainly, the trowel is the main tool. You just scratch the ground, and at a few millimeters, sometimes few centimeters, or sometimes 10 meters, you will find the remains of an ancient civilization. You can go to Egypt. For example, here, Scott is there in Egypt with his Australian art, using a trowel, and he just excavated the remain of an Egyptian mastaba, an Egyptian tomb. This tomb is 5,000 years old. All the tools we use are very basic. You can go to Bunnings and you can purchase most of our tools. But this is important because archaeology is a discipline that took from other disciplines all the tools and the methods. And there is an infinity of combinations in archaeology. What I want to say is that you can do archaeology if you are a biologist. You can study the DNA for the mummies, or you can be a surveyor on the site, do the map of the site. You can study the bones. You can study the remains of plants. There are an infinity of combinations. And again, what we want to show you, what we want to teach you here at Macquarie, is that archaeology is not only one discipline, but a combination of different disciplines. And when you work on the field, I will come to the field very soon, all the team is a combination of different skills. So of course you will learn the skills here at Macquarie, but more important, you will learn how to combine and to use the different skills. Just few examples. Here, Adam. Adam excavating a tomb, again in Abu Hawash. I took these pictures in July, okay? A few weeks ago only. And you see, it's not really the image of the archaeologist you probably have. But that's a real image of an archaeologist with a brush in his hand, just scratching the sand. Sometimes you have very strange or bad position. For example, here, Jacinta and Olivier, just behind, they are excavating two different tombs. They are skeletons still preserved at few centimeters below the surface there.
We call that
As I said, archaeology is a teamwork. So you do not work alone, and you have to discuss. You have to be also very critical with the things you can excavate. Here, Romain, a French archaeologist, and Jacinta, an Australian student here at Macquarie, are looking at the stratigraphy just below a mud brick wall. And this is important because they want to understand the chronology of the site and the way this wall, this mud brick wall, was built on the site. April here is looking at the pottery. Pottery artifacts. That's something else very important when you are working on the field. You are not just there to excavate, but you are also there to study the material. And this is another skill you will learn at Macquarie. How to study a pottery, how to study a small artifact, or what is a skeleton, how to study and excavate a skeleton. You will learn the drawing. Drawing an artifact, for example, a pot here is important. Or the remains of a mud brick wall, or a nice pharaonic graffiti. So you see, we are very far from this period. Do you know the gentleman?
Howard Carter.
Yes, ready. You are ready to come here. Howard Carter, the one who discovered the tomb of Tutankhamun. But today, archaeology is more like that. A very good picture of you. I love it. So we are very far from the ancient way to excavate. That's pictures picture of Egypt in the early 20th century. Archaeology is more something like that today. You see here, Sandra. Sandra is using a GPS, you see the GPS, to survey a large area in Syria. On this image, two of my colleagues are surveying an old cemetery in the eastern desert of Egypt. And now we are using also iPad on the field. So again, plenty of different techniques you will learn here at Macquarie. You want to use a total station, a 3D scanner. You want to know how to study the artifacts in a lab. You want to use the medical scanner at Macquarie University Hospital? Just come here, everything is possible. So why study archaeology at Macquarie? Because in 2015 we will start a new Bachelor of Archaeology at Macquarie. We do not have the Bachelor of Archaeology, not yet. We offer the Bachelor of Arts with two different majors, one in Egypt and the Near East, the second one in Greece and Rome, or a Bachelor of Ancient History. But in 2015, we will have a real Bachelor of Archaeology. And in this Bachelor of Archaeology, you will learn ancient history, archaeology with core units, history of archaeology, theories of archaeology, and a new unit called World Archaeology, with an overview of all the different areas and periods in Egypt. In the world. All the different areas in the world, not only Egypt. And you will select a major in science, because archaeology is a combination of history and science. Now, if we come to the fieldwork, there are plenty of opportunities of fieldwork. I will not talk about the fieldwork because the students, the guys there, will talk about the fieldwork. I just wanted to give the introduction. But maybe you will come with me, this is my team, in Abu Hawash last year. And the remains of wood you can see in front of them. This is the earliest boat ever found in Egypt. Could you believe that? The earliest boat ever found in Egypt. This boat is 5,000 years old. Yeah, of course, it's not very impressive. The boat is not completely preserved, but this is very exciting, and this is the most important. So, talking about the fieldwork opportunities. Egypt, of course, is one option. It's mine, so that's why I start with Egypt. You can go to Spain, you can go to Belgium, you can go to Italy, Israel, Cambodia. There are plenty of different opportunities. And we also have agreements with different colleagues everywhere in the world who would be happy to have you on their side. So now I want to leave my to give the microphone to my students. We'll start first with Alex. Alex is an MRes student.
Thank you. Yes.
And she is a specialist of Near East archaeology.
Hey guys, I'm normally just a student, so give me a sec. Feeling very fancy. Alright, so, hi, I'm Alex. I'm currently a first year Masters of Research student at Macquarie University, and my niche is Near Eastern archaeology and biblical history. So, I didn't really come to university to become an archaeologist. Mainly, people started the "what will you do after you graduate" question, which is what I'm sure you're all familiar with. And I was like, well, history is my favourite subject, so like I'll totes roll with that. This was the thinking process by the time I got to your point. I enrolled at Macquarie University as a Bachelor of Arts student, and for the first 2 years I cruised through different kinds of historical contexts, mythologies, textual analysis, and generally I was undecided about how to specialise. I thought the Romans were all too dramatic, I thought the Egyptians were incestuous, and I thought the Greeks were just boring. I was like, whatever, Trevor. But then I figured it out. I took a biblical history course, and it just completely changed the way in which I view history and my discipline. So, right, I've got some passion. Now where? So after taking a series of courses in the area, one of my professors informed me that there was an opportunity to excavate in Israel. Exploring my options, I found that there were many, yeah, my mum is stoked with my region of the world. Exploring my options, I found that there were many university and privately funded scholarship opportunities that I could turn the experience into credit for my degree. The university assisted me in my application process for scholarships and the dig itself. And some students chose to travel to Israel as a group. I myself snuck in a cheeky trip to Europe, but that's aside. Okay, so this is what I was expecting, all right? I mean, obvi. And then I was like, okay, yeah, like I see this, I visualize. No, that is quite seriously what I do. And I just want to digress from my speech here. I love that Jan was like, the trowel. No, when you're Jan, it's the trowel. When you're me, it's the pickaxe. So I'm just your tools, realistically. So, excavating in Israel was a phenomenal life and career-changing opportunity. A country that is home to a vast expanse of human history, Israel is rich in opportunities for archaeological excavation. Yet while there are opportunities to dig from the north to the south, none quite rival the untapped potential of Azekah. A site luckily untouched by prior excavations, the Azekah expedition is the second largest in Israel. Located in the Judean lowlands, the area is surrounded by extraordinary views of the Shephelah Valley. When I arrived at the site, I was surprised at how varied the team was. Anyone can excavate. And the teams were sometimes combinations of mothers and sons, bonding, or there were people who were teachers, accountants, but then there were students like me from universities all across the world. And what's better, is that there were also academics from all across the world, representing universities like Tel Aviv, Oxford University, NYU, Columbia. So divided into teams, we dug for 3 weeks. I dug for 3 weeks in 2012 and 2013. When I first arrived on site, they showed me some sticks in the ground sectioning off a 5 by 5 metre square. I wasn't very impressed. This was no glamorous square, all right? No one had dug it for 20 years. No, it looked like my backyard. But I was handed a pickaxe, a hoe and 50 buckets and told to yella, which you realise very quickly is Arabic for quickly. So what unfolded though from those 4 basic squares that we began with has at this point expanded to a 14 square radius with 1 water system, a public gathering area, a street, a domestic floor, fascinating pottery and domestic samples, and a destruction layer. When you dig from 5 a.m. till 1 p.m. and you're pulling 18-hour days, it's all worth it when you pull out an artifact or an arrow or a woman's bronze hairpin from the ground that hasn't seen light in 3,000 years. But aside from amazing views and the historical significance of being part of an excavation, it is also a crucial opportunity for networking. An archaeological dig awards students the opportunity to connect on a personal and professional level with some of the leaders of your discipline. It is these connections that open doors for further career advancement and potential future supervisors for masters and PhD work. The exposure to practical archaeological fieldwork skills is also a unique opportunity and one that is seldom awarded to archaeology and history students, especially those studying in Australia. I first excavated in 2012 and 2013. I returned to the same team for another excavation this year. I have since been awarded a role as the head administrator of the excavation for next year, for 2014, and I'm also now an assistant supervisor archaeologist. Drop the student. Excavating internationally is an extraordinary experience, allowing you as a student and as an individual to connect to human history, critically engage in a fresh academic setting, and explore new cultures, communities, and parts of yourself. Thanks.
Thank you, Alex and Jan. Hi, I'm Scott Allen. I'm currently finishing my Bachelor of Ancient History here at Macquarie as a mature age student. And my fieldwork was a little bit different than some of the others you may do, either through the department or that Alex was sort of on with strict fieldwork excavation. And hopefully we'll show you that you can tailor your degree really to whatever you want to do. Mine focused on human remains. And up until the point I went on my fieldwork, my knowledge of bones was that the foot bone was connected to the ankle bone, apparently. So I searched around, found a field school that would teach me all I needed to know. It was run by the University of Arkansas and was conducted in the Egyptian summer last year, so May, June. In other words, very hot. A team of students and professors met in Cairo, where we started with some sightseeing, such as the Giza pyramids, the Sphinx, the Egyptian Museum. But we also got to experience life in modern Cairo, such as going to Old Cairo, down the Khan el-Khalili markets, and visiting a beautiful mosque, experiencing wonderful food and the culture that's in Egypt. But then it was time for the hard work to begin. Tel El Amarna is the modern name, or Akhetaten. It's located halfway between Cairo and Luxor, in the middle of the desert. It was for a short time the capital of ancient Egypt under Akhenaten, who was Tutankhamun's assumed father. The site is run by Barry Kemp, here on the left, who's a leading Egyptologist. And in 2005, along with the survey team, they found the cemetery for the people who actually lived in the city. They knew where the tombs were of all the high officials, but didn't know where the people actually were buried. And he invited Jerry Rose, leading paleopathologist and forensic anthropologist, to come and look at the bones that they had dug up and try and determine what life was like in the ancient city. So our task for 4 weeks was to study the bones. Over 40 skeletons and skulls needed to be analysed that had been previously excavated. We needed to record them using current archaeological techniques so that the information could be used for future research. We started by cleaning the sand from every bone and labelling every piece. They then needed to be arranged in their correct anatomical position. We also highlighted any unusual features that we'd seen, such as healed fractures, possible disease, that we needed to look at. Lots of paperwork needed to be completed, detailing how much of the mummy was preserved or how much of the skeleton was preserved, what we saw, what we found. We also learned how to age and sex the skeleton using the pelvic bones and the skull. We measured all the long bones to try to determine how high the individual was. We also learned photography skills, taking reference photos of all the skulls, as well as all the paleopathology, the disease that we saw, such as this cribra orbitalia, which is these little holes inside the eye sockets, and this is an indication of anemia, and dietary deficiencies. We also looked at all different types of fractures, photographing them, and we also learned X-raying as well. So all this information then needed to be entered into databases, and it wasn't just the analysis that we conducted that season and the previous seasons, it was also going into the larger Mana database, which combines and shows that we were contributing to over 100 years of excavation at this site. I also had the chance to work on the only pair of mummy legs that we found that season. And we had to be careful not to brush away his leg hairs and try and leave his toenail that was sticking out all attached. It's very juicy. We also had talks by Barry Kemp on different parts of the Amana period and his interpretations, which was just amazing, one of the leading scholars in Egyptology. We also ate dinner under the stars every night, where Barry would have a little nap. Had personalised tours of the South Tomb Cemetery, where our bones that we were working on actually came from. We also saw the Tomb of the King, Akhenaten, in the Royal Wadi. With our team photo underneath Stela U at the North Tombs. We also celebrated birthdays and made lifelong friends. And some of us even tried our first shisha. I can't recommend going on fieldwork enough. It was a life-changing experience for me in more ways than one. And it confirmed that leaving a successful career as a mature age student and coming back to study was the best decision of my life so far. While the current situation in Egypt is disappointing for fieldwork this season, things will calm down very soon and we will hopefully get back there very soon. The university always makes sure you're safe, and there is lots of other opportunities to excavate and learn fieldwork techniques around the world in the meantime. Studying ancient history here at Macquarie, you may have been down to the stand where we're at, but you're not thrown in the deep end. I'm part of a group of student volunteers here at Macquarie who run seminars and provide information for first year students to help you survive your first year. We focus on actual ancient history techniques, so with the library tours focus on other things. General library, we focus on where the ancient history resources are, so that you can hopefully write your best essays and succeed in your first year. Thank you.
Anyone can hear me? Yes? G'day. My name is Olivier Washkut, aka Ollie. I started Macquarie University in 2009 doing a Bachelor of Arts in Ancient History and did that for nearly 4 years, learning about Egyptology and other aspects of ancient history until I found a love for the pre-dynastic and early dynastic eras of Egypt. But all history interests me as well. I graduated last year in 2012, and now I'm in my first year of the Masters of Research program, specialising in ancient history and human geography. Like most of you guys sitting here, I remember being an open day in late 2008. I had so many questions, but the one question I remember was, should I study at Macquarie? I knew I wanted to study ancient history full stop, but which evolved from a love from dinosaurs, but learning about people of the past and how they contributed to how our society works today. It's quite extraordinary, but first and foremost, I had to figure out not only was this the right degree for me, but also whether I had an affection for the place here. And I can tell you guys, I don't know what it was back then, but I felt right at home being here at Macquarie. I felt like I was part of a big family, and I don't mean to be biased, but you won't get any better experts, teachers, good people from the staff of the Ancient History Department like Jan here at Macquarie, who are always willing to encourage students to go forward with that passion for ancient history. The one thing you will enjoy when doing ancient history here at Macquarie is the experience of studying both textual and archaeological material, as well as learning new skills and using tools to go along with it, which will help to open up new avenues of careers throughout the rest of your life. Through my experience, I have met many people and friends along the way, and thanks to staying in contact with them, aka networking, I managed to get myself on digs like at Angkor Wat near Siem Reap in Cambodia. A lovely part of the world where I helped with digging up new settlements thanks to the aid of LiDAR technology and data. Macquarie, of course, is also famous for being the biggest centre of Egyptology in the Southern Hemisphere, and because of that, we have the license to dig over there for a number of sites, such as Abu Rawash. I was very lucky to go there just a few months ago, along with 3 other Egyptologist students under the ever-watchful eye of Dr. Jan Tristant. There we worked at a site not far from Giza, and it was a joint operation between Macquarie University and the French Institute of Cairo. Re-excavating the site, which is full of elite mastabas, with people who basically worked under the kings of the earliest times of Egypt around 3000 BC. It has been a place of new discoveries as of late, with Jan and his team unearthing the oldest boat ever found so far, which has been scientifically tested to be 5,000 years old. That's much older than Khufu's boat at Giza. But apart from discoveries, the skills we learnt there are invaluable to archaeology. They include working the total station, being taught how to excavate tombs properly and carefully in over 40 degrees heat, washing of pottery, technical drawing of pottery, and also learning Arabic with the workers and trying to understand a bit of a common ground. In our case, it was mostly European football, enjoying food together, and being part of not just a team, but a family as well. But of course, the main thing I learned was to enjoy the experience in being overseas, and boy, when you're in that part of the world, take advantage. Especially seeing the pyramids and enjoying food like falafel or tahir in Arabic, and just mingling and interacting with the locals. But sadly, a revolution party happened recently in Tahrir Square. I don't know what the fuss was about, but unfortunately I wasn't invited. So I went along with a couple of friends, and we visited parts of the Middle East and Europe, such as Petra and Jerash in Jordan, going to Israel, Jerusalem, yes, and finally Istanbul in Turkey. These types of opportunities are what is on offer here at Macquarie University when you study ancient history and archaeology here. And don't worry, when you do make that decision to study here, you won't be alone in meeting other people who share the same interests. I forgot to mention as well, I am the president of the Macquarie Ancient History Association, MAHA for short, and our aim as a student society is to give you guys a taste of a social life here at Macquarie, to help give you a break from your assignments, your essays, and also to meet new people, where we have events like the annual Maha Cruise, Ancient History Week, in conjunction with our fellow historical groups like the Dark Ages Society, the Asian Historical Research Association, and the Museum Appreciation Society as well. And we have celebrating Ancient History Week together. We celebrate all things ancient history. Trivia nights, and of course the Ancient History Review, where if you can act, dance, sing, do production, stage production, makeup, get on board in helping bring to life some of the funny things one does find when studying ancient history. You'll understand what I mean. And combining that with the crazy world that we live in today, like blaming Game of Thrones for failing your exam most of the time. But the main thing I ask you guys is that enjoy your time here as possible and make sure you find the right balance. And I hope that it's here at Macquarie. Thank you very much for listening.